Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
In lunar flame.
These are devils. I'll crush them all.
Fight is fun!
Blade of moonlight. In lunar flame.
Lucia, do you know why you're here?
Bad luck, I guess.
There was a girl I knew. She said she cared about me. She tried to make my world the way she thought it should be. Yeah, we were desperate then to have each other to hold, but love is a long, long
look who's back. The only way we're gonna get through this is by sticking together, being a team. Trust?
Trust.
Life is complicated. I killed people, smuggled people, sold people. Perhaps here, things will be different.
Why did I move here? I guess it was the weather. Or the... I don't know, that thing. That magic. You see it in the movies. I wanted to retire from what I was doing, you know? From that line of work. Be a good guy for once. A family man. So, I bought a big house. Came here, put my feet up, and thought I'd be a dad like all the other dads. My kids would be like the kids on TV. We'd play ball and sit in the sun, but, well, you know how it is.
Lucia, do you know why you're here? Bad luck, I guess.
There was a girl I knew. She said she cared about me. She tried to make my world the way she thought it should be. Yeah, we were desperate then to have each other to hold, but love is a long, long road. Yeah, love is a long, long
Well, look who's back. The only way we're gonna get through this is by sticking.
y'all might not know this, but we doing the video game awards. And we about to fucking vote. We're gonna vote on what the good games is and what the best games is, right? I can't really say the games that suck because it's like our event, you know, like I kind of sound like an asshole if I said that, right? So let's go the good and the not so good. How about that? All right, we're gonna pick out the best esports game. Counter-Strike 2, League of Legends, Dota 2, Valorant, Street Fighter, or Rocket League. I personally think this year has been huge for League. I think this year has been massive for League. I've heard more about League than any of these other games. Yeah, the Faker win and everything like that, it's huge. I'm not really a big esports player, but I'll take that. Best mobile game. Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, Warcraft Rumble, or Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I'm sorry to say, but Honkai Star Rail completely clears all of them, and it's not even remotely close. The game gets content regularly, they do updates all of the time, they're adding new characters constantly, and the story and the gameplay is actually pretty good. The rest of these, Monster Hunter, I don't want to play that on a fucking phone. Hello Kitty Island Adventure, that's literally from the South Park episode of World of Warcraft. I don't even know if that's a real game. And then Warcraft Rumble, it's like, yeah, maybe this is okay, but I don't play it. And so, yeah, that's it. We'll go with this one. Best music. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, or Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, personally, I would say that Final Fantasy 16 has the best music. Soken did the music. He's the same guy that did the Final Fantasy 16 music, does the Final Fantasy 16 music. I think it's phenomenal, and I would go with that. However, I haven't heard some of the music in Baldur's Gate 3, so it kind of depends on, you know, what it is. I think that, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 could potentially have, like, better ambience music, and Final Fantasy could have potentially, like, better, like, kind of thematic music, right? I'm not sure. But that's what I think. Let's see here. Hi-Fi Rush, I played it with this, it was okay, right? I played it with the fucking copyright thing on, so I didn't hear the normal music that you would normally play because I was streaming it. Zelda, I didn't play Zelda, but I've heard some of the music. I think the Zelda music is actually really good. It's always been good. Like, I can still hear the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, man, whenever I think about that. Best narrative. You guys think Baldur's Gate 3? I will be honest, I really liked Final Fantasy 16, but Cyberpunk was way better. The narrative and the way that it was told, it was, like, just way fucking better. It was, like... Let me think of a way to put it. So, like, the as big of a difference as there was between, like, Starfield and Final Fantasy 16, which is, like, massive, I think it was that big of a difference between Final Fantasy 16 and Cyberpunk. Like, the Cyberpunk, especially the beginning narrative of the game, was, like, disgustingly fucking good. Like, I was, like, I still think about it. Now, I haven't played Phantom Liberty, which is the expansion, what we're really going off of, so I'm not really sure. Personally, you know, I would probably refrain from voting on this one. But if I had to say, I really did like Cyberpunk a lot. Phantom Liberty is insane too. Yeah, see, I haven't finished it, right? So I'm not sure. But yeah, that's where I would go. Best art direction. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say it. Liza P. Liza P did something unique and different. Now, I will say that if you go with Alan Wake 2, I can't say you're wrong because it seems very unique. However, I think Lies of P, there is so much traditional fantasy. Have we ever gotten a game that has the same type of, like, design of Lies of P? I'm sure that we have, but it was probably 10 or 15 years ago. I think it was phenomenal. It was unique. The bosses were memorable, and the style was BioShock. Yeah, maybe BioShock. Bloodborne, it was not like Bloodborne. Yeah, the Victorian era, cyberpunk, Pinocchio, fantasy vibe with Lies of P, I thought was fucking amazing. And again, what has the best art? I'm gonna be honest, guys. Final Fantasy 16's art was fucking flawless. And if you think that's good, Baldur's Gate 3 was even better. So, yeah. I mean, these games are better in terms of, like, fidelity, but I like the style of Lies of P more because it feels more unique to me. And that I just think they should be acknowledged for the uniqueness of that game, right? That's what I think, or of that style. But yeah, I think Baldur's Gate 3 has the best fidelity. Final Fantasy has probably the most like cinematic. Like, bro, the fight, the combat scenes or the boss fights in Final Fantasy 16 are better than the cinematics in 99% of games. It's like you're playing a cinematic, and it's just you playing the game. The Titan fight, the Bahamut fight was fucking disgusting. It was so good. Like, it had some fights, like in my opinion, like the Titan fight, Bahamut, and there's one more. What's the other one that was like insanely fucking good? Typhon. I'm gonna be honest. I really like Typhon. I thought it was incredible. Odin. I didn't like Odin that much. I thought it was okay, but in my opinion, it was the weakest of the three. Or for however many like of the icons that you fought at the end. Garuda and now Ultima. I actually didn't think the Ultima fight was like that amazing. I thought it was okay, but the Ultima fight was like, I think, too much. Whereas like the Typhon fight was like very sublime and very subdued, and I really like that. And I think that overall, in terms of like spectacle, the Titan fight and the Bahamut fight were like after I did the Titan fight, I felt like the entire game was like just okay, all right, that's it, right? That was the climax. It's you know, like now we're gonna clean everything else up afterwards. The Bahamut fight managed to be like at least that good, but in my opinion, even better. It was fucking nuts. So yeah, that's what I would go. I'd go with Lies of P, but like overall, you know, the cinematic nature of the Final Fantasy fights, I think any of these three really deserve it. Hogwarts Legacy. Look, they did an incredible job remaking Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. I think it was phenomenal. Everything about it was great, but I don't think that it's a winner. The game was mid. I think the game was a solid 7 or 8. It was a great game. But Lies of P is like an 8 or a 9. Final Fantasy, in my opinion, is like a 9, 9.5. Baldur's Gate 3, haven't played it. Everybody says it's a 10. Resident Evil, everybody says this game's fucking amazing. Like, so Hogwarts Legacy is a great game, but it's being compared to, in 10 years, people are going to talk about how great these games are. It's best speedrunning game. Resident Evil is fucking awesome. Yeah, people really liked it a lot. Only Up, Super Mario 64, Zelda, or Minecraft. And this is for best speedrunning game. I think for 2023, Only Up probably would be the most popular one. But there were some crazy records that were set with Super Mario 64. Like, I think there was like some 16-star run that was just like so good that nobody thinks they're ever going to beat it again. So it's really hard for me to say. I think it's either between Only Up or Super Mario 64, personally. If I had to guess, I would say Green Suigi is just a beast. I think that was the guy, yeah. I watched like a whole documentary about it. Yeah, I mean, this is the best speedrun game, right? I think that it's very hard for me to say which one is the best, but yeah. Most addictive game. Oh, it's kind of hard to beat gambling. I don't know. What do you guys think? What was your most addictive game for the year? PoE, Hollow Cure. Yeah, it's really hard for me to say which one this is. Like, in a way, Dark and Darker is really addictive. It is extremely addictive. It's very good. Classic WoW is addictive in its own way because of the escapism it provides with hardcore. Baldur's Gate 3, haven't played it, as I said. I'm not sure. Star Rail literally has gambling. Hollow Cure is insanely good. I actually played it a little bit off stream, and I probably need to play it more. League is long-term addictive. Yeah, probably League is the most addictive. All right, best community. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy, Warcraft Classic, Warframe, Deep Rock Galactic, Dark and Darker. There's a big part of me that I want to say Deep Rock Galactic. I do really kind of want to say it. And the reason why is that, why? I'll explain why. So, one time I woke up and there were 8 wasps in my house. The day after that, the exterminator showed up because I called them and I said, get the fuck out here. We need to fix this. Okay? Like, you know, I like to ignore a lot of things, but I'm not going to ignore wasps, all right? And I fucking hate wasps. So the guy comes out. There's like 2 or 3 guys. And he comes upstairs and he sees my setup. He's like, oh shit, what is this? So are you like a streamer? I said, yeah, I stream. And he's like, okay, cool. So like, you stream Deep Rock Galactic? And I'm like, no. He says, why not? I'm like, well, people told me to play it. I haven't played it. He's like, you should play it. Because you should play Deep Rock Galactic. And so I've never had somebody that was like that enthusiastic about a game. And he was just like a total like just normal, average, everyday dude, you know? And he just comes over and he's like, yeah, bro, like you should play this. And why not? Yeah, exactly. So I kind of want to vote for Deep Rock Galactic. And I told them, by the way, whenever we were deciding categories for this, I did help decide this one. And that was the reason why. Is that I think that, like, especially, like, the community for the game, it's not as big as Classic WoW. It's not as big as Final Fantasy or Baldur's Gate. But it's such a great community. They're so supportive and so positive. And because of that, I kind of want to give it to Deep Rock Galactic. Now, I think Dark and Darker also could deserve that. I mean, following these fucking guys through like 8 different torrent websites, Steam getting delisted, lawsuits, you know, raids, etc. You know, it's a lot to do. Let's see here. We'll do Game of the Year last. Gaming Moment of the Year. Baldur's Gate 3 bare sex scene. Forzen beating the record. Faker winning Worlds. Chris Metzen returning to Blizzard. Angry Bird wins at EVO. Echo Guild's race to world first win. Now, my personal opinion on this is the gay bear sex scene. Okay? This is my personal opinion. Now, Faker winning Worlds is probably a much bigger deal, but I'd have to say probably the bear sex scene. And also Chris Metzen returning to Blizzard. I thought that was a crazy moment. It went so well, too. I was impressed by it. I think people are still negative about Blizzard, so I don't think necessarily it would win. But I think it's probably between these two right here. And I'll let you guys, if you all want to vote, I'll link you guys the thing. We're doing the show in like 3 days or something like that. So we're still tallying up the votes and deciding. There's the thing there. Faker moment was historic. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? It's like I'm just not part. I think it was huge for the League community, you know, but that's about it. Like if you're outside of that, you might not have really understood that as much. Let's see the next one. Content Creator of the Year. XQC, Jinxie, Kaide, Ludwig, Kai, or Co-Carnage. Now, in my opinion, okay, I think it's not even close. Who's worked harder this year? It's Kai. He started a riot. He brought all of his friends to jail. He got a hand job on stream. He didn't get banned. Bro, like, he did a subathon. He had, like, 300,000 subs. Kai actually puts work into entertaining people. He does IRL events. He's farming constantly. He's working his fucking ass off. And he's one of the only people on Twitch. I'm not saying that these guys don't do it, too. But Kai, I think, goes that extra mile to fucking entertain the audience. And isn't that what streaming is all about? He entertains the audience. XQC is great. Like, he is. Like, obviously. But, like, Kai fucking started a riot. I mean, that's gotta be... Bro, that's GOAT status stuff. I mean, bro, it's insane. So, yeah, no, I mean, I'm not, like... like, these were all people, like, I think could deserve it for different reasons, right? But there it is. XQC streams once a month? No, he doesn't. He streams all the time, man. Streams, like, every day. XQC's great. Like, I'll say this. If it was gaming content creator of the year, I would say probably XQC. But for overall live streaming, I think Kai is there because of how much that he's done with IRL. XQC doesn't play games. The reason why you guys think he doesn't play games is because he usually plays games on Kick. Like, he'll usually do, like, his IRL stuff on Twitch, and then maybe do a bit of that on Kick, and then he'll do a lot of games on Kick. So, yeah, no, he does play games. Of course he plays games. That's why he's level 60 in hardcore. I think he's great. I've been friends with XQC for, like, 7 years. Yeah, absolutely. Jinxie revived Siege alone. That's true. Yeah, this guy, bro. This guy fucking with Rainbow Six, man. He came up through Rainbow Six. I love it, man. Let's see here. Is Ludwig really coming back to Twitch? Yeah, I think so. Let's go back. We're going to look at the rest of them. Yeah, I would say Kai. Definitely. Most anticipated game. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Squadron 42, Hollow Knight Silksong. I mean, it's obviously Grand Theft Auto 6, right? I mean, like, it's clearly going to win. It's not even remotely close. So it's like, I don't even want to talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 because it's clearly Grand Theft Auto 6. Hades 2, Dragon's Dogma 2. In my opinion, the game that I'm actually the most anticipated for, it is 50-50 between Dragon's Dogma 2 and Squadron 42. What I saw from the Squadron 42, like, showcase, and the kind of technology they had for their game, just blew me away. It made me feel like whenever I watched, I saw, like, a video, I saw Halo for the first time, or I saw Half-Life 2 for the first time, and, like, how much of a massive growth, Final Fantasy X for the first time. Like, it was such a massive graphical jump. I felt like this game was actually the next generation, and it totally blew me away. Personally. Dragon's Dogma 2, I think, is going to be amazing, but I think Squadron 42 might be the next generation game. So that's what I think. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto 6 wins, though. Stream Game of the Year. Grand Theft Auto 5, Classic Hardcore, Dark and Darker, Valorant, Lethal Company, or Only Up. Grand Theft Auto 5, I think probably would win maybe 2 years ago, not this year. Dark and Darker, I think, is very popular, but they've had so many problems. It was hard to stream the game, and it was off and on, so it caused issues. Only Up was popular for a while, but now nobody plays it. Lethal Company has just come out, so I don't really think that we have enough data for it. I think this is really between Hardcore Classic and Valorant. And personally, I think Hardcore Classic is better because of how much of a revitalization it's had on the community. I personally think Classic Hardcore is the stream game of the year. And I would even translate that over to Season of Discovery as well. While Classic clears, it's been huge. It's been massive, bro. Like, they've taken a 20-year-old game and they've made it relevant again in the biggest way. Like, look at this right now, randomly, right? Let me just pull it up. It's right here. 20 years old. 19, actually. This game can fucking vote. This is nuts. WoW server, yeah, and this is the servers being down. So yeah, I'll go with WoW Classic. The game that changed games. Baldur's Gate 3, BattleBit Remastered, Dark and Darker, Hollow Cure, Honkai Star Rail, and Armored Core 6. Now, I think that the answer really is Baldur's Gate 3. However, BattleBit was totally fucking different. It completely changed the way that people are, like, looking at FPS games. And people fucking loved BattleBit. Dark and Darker was a totally new take on a game. I loved Dark and Darker. Armored Core 6 proved that you don't have to make a $200 million video game in order to have just an amazing, good, like, focused experience. And I appreciated that a lot about Armored Core 6. And I will have you know that it was me that put Armored Core 6 on this list. Because I do think that it deserves to be on the list, but I do also think Baldur's Gate 3 deserves to win. Because I think that Armored Core 6 was so fucking good at what it did. It was so good at being a mech game. And that's all it was. It didn't try to have 200 achievements. It didn't try to have 500 unlockables. It was just a really good, strong shot of a game that was fucking amazing from start to finish. And because of that, that's why I would say Armored Core 6 deserves to be on the list. However, I think Baldur's Gate 3 deserves to win.
In lunar flame.
It didn't change any games, though. I think it did. I think it changed people's perspective on games because Armored Core 6 was a game that you couldn't get hundreds of hours of entertainment out of just by playing the campaign and the base content, but it was still viewed as a great game. So that's why. You said a whole lot of nothing? Nope, I'm totally right. Why is there no Hogwarts Legacy? Because Hogwarts Legacy did nothing innovative at all. It was just a good game. How's a HoloCure different to Vampire Survivors? HoloCure is different because it was made basically. Well, I mean, I don't think it's really that much different, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, it's not really, like, so much different. I'm trying to remember, like, why we put that one on the list. I don't really remember. I think that basically the reason why is it was built off of VTubers. Oh, yeah, right. It's because it was built off of, like, actual content creators. And that's why. Like, there had never been a game that was made that was done like that ever before. And I thought that that was something really interesting, and it was new. And because of that, and it was successful, too. That's why I put it on there. Yeah. How is Dark and Darker different from Medieval Tarkov? Oh, every game is... How's Baldur's Gate 3 different from Divinity Original Sin 2? It's probably not that much different in a lot of ways. Like, you could say that with anything. What about Honkai changed? It was on the bathroom? Yeah, I think Honkai is the first, like, actually good turn-based game that's not just trash, in my opinion. So yeah, I liked it a lot. We good, chat? Servers are up? Yeah, okay. All right. So yeah, I'd say Baldur's Gate 3. And then best indie action. Battlement, Blasphemous, Last Epoch, HoloCure, Brotato, or Halls of Torment. I have only heard good things about Halls of Torment. And, sorry, Brotato, I mean. I played Halls of Torment, and you can kind of assume that's probably why it's on the list. What do you guys think about this? Because I am just like Last Epoch and Brotato, I haven't played those really. Yeah, Epoch is just slept on. Blasphemous or BattleBet. Halls of Torment, hands down for me personally. You guys think so? Best indie action game? Now, in my opinion, what was my favorite game to play as an action game this year? I would say I like Blasphemous 2 the most. That was my favorite, but I didn't play Last Epoch, and I didn't play Brotato. So I'm not sure. I really, really like this game. Best indie adventure game. Again, I don't really think that, I haven't really played any of these fucking games. What do you guys think? Oh no, I played Sons of the Forest, that's right. Yes, I did. I did play Sons of the Forest. Sea of Stars is sick? Yeah. Alright, we'll go with Sea of Stars then. Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie game. There's a problem, and we talked about this ourselves, like that it's kind of hard to define like what an indie game is, right? Because like, is it self-publishing? Is it the size of the studio? Is it the type of the game, etc.? So it was kind of hard for us to decide, like, you know, where is that line? And it's been a conversation that people have talked about with a lot of video games in the past like 2 or 3 years. The size of the studio, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of undefined right now. Best indie roguelike. HoloCure, Save the Fans, Halls of Torment, Dome Keeper, Backpack Hero, Darkest Dungeon, or Wall World. Now, my opinion on this, the game that I like the most, you know it, I know it, everybody knows it, it's Halls of Torment. I love this fucking game. It was amazing. I love the style of it, everything like that. It was fucking great. I played Halls of Torment off stream a lot, and I thought it was super fucking fun. So that's what I think. Second probably would be HoloCure, but that's because I didn't really play these other ones. I know a lot of people really liked Darkest Dungeon too. Let's see here. Best indie RPG. I feel like this would be Sea of Stars. I do. I feel like this would definitely be Sea of Stars. What do you guys think? Sea of Stars, 100%? Yeah. Yep, there it is. Let's see here. Last Epoch. A lot of people say Last Epoch. It's probably between these two. As I said, I haven't played either one of them, so I'm not sure. I guess I'll just click on this one, but I don't really know. Best indie shooter. I feel like also this is a one-horse race. If BattleBit is in the race, BattleBit should win. It's not even close. It was a massive breakout success in a way that people had never really seen. So yeah, I think it was huge, massively popular, amazing, and I would 100% go with it. Best indie strategy game, never played any of these, I have no idea. Thronefall, Played Up, For the King, Backpack Battles, I don't know. Best indie game of the year, I would say would probably be... Man. I don't know. Pizza Tower? A lot of people like Pizza Tower. Dark and Darker? Like, Dark and Darker and Hollow Cure are the only two that I played a lot. I guess we'll pick probably BattleBit, maybe. I don't really know. I'd have to really think about this. I'm not sure. Best action. Guys. Armored Core 6, Final Fantasy 16, Resident Evil 4, Remnant 2, Spider-Man 2, or Hi-Fi Rush. Guys, I think it's Armored Core, and it's not even remotely close. Armored Core is fucking amazing. It is astonishing. It is so good. Like, it's amazing. Such a great game. Easily Armored Core 6, in my opinion. Not even close. Remnant was okay. Yeah, I thought Remnant was great too. Absolutely. Let's see here. Resident Evil 4. Yeah, between Armored Core 6 and Final Fantasy 16, in my opinion. I think so too. But I also think that Remnant deserves to be here too, because I think Remnant is that good. Best adventure game. Baldur's Gate 3, Legend of Zelda, Dave the Diver, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, and Jedi Survivor. You guys think Baldur's Gate 3? Dave the Diver? A lot of people like Dave the Diver. Baldur's Gate 3, I've played all of them. Alright, that's probably true. Best RPG, probably also going to be Baldur's Gate 2, right, guys? Or 3, I mean. What about Starfield? Hey, guys, what about Starfield? What about that? Does anyone like Starfield? Like, hey, come on. It makes... Yeah, what is this? We gotta have at least somebody, right? No? Okay, that's fine. So yeah, probably Baldur's Gate 3 with this. I'm not too surprised about that. Kind of makes sense, right? Star what? Yeah. Let's see here. Best shooter. Valorant, BattleBit, Counter-Strike 2, Apex, Rainbow Six Siege, Fortnite. I think Fortnite. Now, if you're talking about competitive shooter, I would go with CS2 or Valorant. But I think best shooter in general right now is Fortnite. Bro, come on. Fortnite is massive. It's huge. And I think the game plays extremely fucking well. Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, am I crazy? That's what I think. And I'll take absolute bullshit. You guys don't think so? Really? That doesn't matter to the size. It asks best shooter. Well, I think that a lot of people play it because it's really good. Like, Counter-Strike 2 is a great game, but, like, it is what it is. Like, Fortnite is constantly reinventing itself, constantly doing these events, doing these in-game events. It brought back, like, the old map. People went crazy about that. Dude, I think Fortnite absolutely deserves to win this. No, if you want to say Counter-Strike 2, I don't think that you're necessarily wrong. I don't think Valorant's wrong either. I'm not saying that you're wrong. This is just my opinion. I think it's Fortnite. I do. I think it's fucking Fortnite. It's subjective and too broad. Best shooter how? Yeah, exactly. It's hard to say. But that's my opinion of the best shooter. Best strategy game. Advance Wars 1 and 2, Warcraft Rumble, Pikmin 4, City Skylines, Baldur's Gate 3, and Fire Emblem. Was Pikmin any good? The new one? I haven't played a Pikmin game since Pikmin 1. I don't even think I played Pikmin 2. City Skylines all day. Yeah, I haven't really played any of these, so I'm not really sure. Let's scroll all the way up. And we have our Game of the Year. Baldur's Gate 3, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man, Final Fantasy 16, or Armored Core. I think that it's kind of obvious that Baldur's Gate 3 is the game of the year. And I think that it's just like, there's no way that it's not going to be game of the year. I think it's going to be a massive sweep. I don't even think the next one is going to have half as many votes. It's huge. I think game of the year is Baldur's Gate 3. And in my opinion, it's not even close. Like, there's like 50 video essays online about why is it such a good game. Like, people are going to look back at Baldur's Gate 3 in like 10 or 20 years and be like, man, I remember whenever this game came out. That was great. Like, this is going to be a nostalgia game for people in like 10 or 20 years. 100%, man. Generation defining. It is. Jedi Survivor was good. I wish it was better optimized. Well, they optimized it like 2 days after release. Like, Jedi Survivor, where was it? It was like down, was it down here? Yeah. Jedi Survivor was a good game, but I don't think that there was like anything special about it. It was just a good Star Wars game. I don't think it was bad, but it just like, there was nothing that was like, oh man, like this is really what it's all about. But yeah, there's the voting if you guys want to vote. The show is going to be very, very soon. Extremely soon.
In lunar flame.
Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
So devils. I'll crush them all.
Lunar flame. Blade of moonlight. Blade of moonlight.
Games like this make it seem like Capcom has a lot of enemies. Everybody wants to fight them. Marvel, SNK, and now Tatsunoko. Tatsunoko, an interesting choice, because unlike Marvel and SNK, Tatsunoko is not a household name for the majority of the audience in the West. They're a Japanese animation company, and many of us probably know them best for Gatchaman, which was retitled in the US as Battle of the Planets, a terrific old-school cartoon that I used to watch back in the early 80s. But that also kind of proves my point. Battle of the Planets isn't nearly as well known as some other giant American cartoons like G.I. Joe or Transformers, but that issue stops at the marketing, because when you get down to the video game, the gameplay in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom is traditional Capcom versus fair. And many of you will become fans of Tatsunoko characters and want to learn more about them because they fit right into this game. This is a Nintendo Wii exclusive and easily one of the best fighting games on the Wii. Unlike so many games coming out these days, the visuals are bright, colorful, and simply gorgeous. The gameplay is extremely fast and smooth. My only major gripe with this game is that the combat falls into the button mashing category, but the more time that you spend with it, you'll obviously learn how to mash your buttons in a strategic manner rather than just hammering away at them, which is basically what I'm doing just to figure out all the characters. Because throw away the old Street Fighter II controls, this one has a simplified button scheme, but you can also modify it and even use a fighting stick for the Wii. I'm playing with the classic Controller Pro, which I would recommend. I couldn't even think of using the actual Wiimote controller for this one. So keep in mind, this is not Tatsunoko versus Street Fighter. In fact, there's very few Street Fighter characters in the game. And I think that's a good thing, because frankly there's enough Street Fighter games. It's more fun to play as other characters and learn moves that aren't as familiar. This guy is definitely my favorite new character in the game, and when I had him paired with Chun-Li, they were unstoppable, but I have him teamed up here with Mega Man, who I'm also learning to play as. If you're unfamiliar with the Capcom Versus or the Versus Capcom series of games, what's cool about them is the ability to tag characters in and out of combat, because you go into a battle with two characters, and when they're not fighting, if they're wounded, they can regenerate some of their health. You can also pull them in for support moves, and generally the visuals are much wilder and the gameplay is more over the top than the Street Fighter series. Yeah, good stuff. There's no disc space wasted on a half-assed storyline. This is just about fighting. There's an arcade mode, a survival mode. You can obviously invite your friends over and play them together in person, just like the old days. And it has Nintendo Wii Online support, which I tried, but it was taking more than a minute to find a game, which is way too long for me. Ideally, you coordinate with your buddies ahead of time and set up a game. And that's Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. It's a straightforward game. Yeah, there's some unlockable stuff, but basically it's all about fighting. And hyper-ultra glorified visuals, which they do nicely on the Nintendo Wii, not always known for beautiful visuals. This is the kind of game that you either like or you don't like, but if you're into the previous Street Fighter or versus Capcom games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is one of my favorites, check this one out. I think you'll find some new characters which are fun to play as. You may or may not like the control scheme, but developer Eighting and Capcom have done a nice job bringing Tatsunoko vs. Capcom to the Wii. Now, if only I could get them to make Berserk versus Capcom, then I'll be very happy. Evil Otto versus Chun-Li. The Conduit. Let's see if I can outrun some alien laser blasts in this frantic, challenging first-person shooter on the Nintendo Wii. Aha, take that, punk aliens. What you didn't see is the 30 times before that where I died trying to shoot them all.
That's your last one for now. Stay where you are. I'm sending a helicopter to get you on.
The Conduit. I like the game, but doesn't it sound like they're running out of game titles? What's next? The Sidewalk. Well, probably The Conduit 2. I imagine this game will do quite well. It's one of the best shooters on the Wii by far. If not the best shooter, I think it's the best one that I've seen. It's easily one of the smoothest, most playable, best-looking third-party titles on the Wii, published by Sega. The whole game reminds me of Men in Black mixed with Halo, which is not exactly a bad thing. There's a storyline involving an alien invasion and conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. Nothing you haven't seen before. While there's a nice single-player campaign in the game, I have a feeling their focus was probably on the multiplayer, because for Wii owners, there is a serious lack of multiplayer shooters. They've done multiplayer right with this game. It works very well, and I'll show that near the end of the review, but just note visually what a nice game this is. It's extremely smooth as well, and I have to comment on the music. It is excellent. That's my super happy fun ball, which opens doors and finds secret things. Do not taunt me when I'm packing all kinds of crazy-ass weapons in this game. There's a lot of weapons to choose from. Has a bit of a Time Splitters feel, both visually and with the gun selection.
Prometheus had designed such advanced weapon systems. Use the ASE device to hack into them.
Control-wise, the Conduit is very flexible, very customizable.
Their system.
You can really tweak the speed settings and sensitivity. I think it plays a lot like Metroid Prime Corruption, except it's far more action-packed. You point at the screen with your Wii controller to aim, you move around with the nunchuck thumbstick, and you can throw grenades by just flicking your wrist with the nunchuck, which works surprisingly well.
The Trust has guided this nation for over 200 years. We shaped it into the preeminent superpower of the planet, and we will...
I found that most of the guns seem to run out of ammo almost instantly, and they take forever to reload. Also, parts of the game are extremely simple, and then you get to sections which are ridiculously difficult. When you play the single-player campaign, it's definitely a challenging, cool game. That's a nice looking gun right there. If you have your Nintendo Wii hooked up to the internet, prepare to be entertained. Conduit multiplayer is awesome. It's nothing that hasn't been done before, but you just don't see multiplayer like this on the Wii very often. And because of that, there's a lot of people playing Conduit, so there's no shortage of other individuals to play against. Which is kind of important when you want to jump into a multiplayer game with a lot of people.
You have taken the lead.
I had no problem playing it at all. It works just as well as any other big online shooter like Halo 3 or Call of Duty. You just jump right into a game. There's a variety of games to choose from, lots of guns, a nice map selection, it's smooth, and it plays like you want it to. It works as it should, always a good thing. Frequently, things don't. If you want a shooter on the Wii, no question, pick up the Conduit.
You have taken the lead.
My only other nitpicking gripe about the game is the cover art. It looks like a 1992 comic book. But whatever, you don't play the cover art. You play the Conduit, and you should. Excellent game. The first thing that you'll notice about The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is how cool loft wings are. Where can I buy one of these things? After a few drinks with Lando in Cloud City, you can hop right off the edge and have a loft wing drive you home. Or in the case of this game, pilot your loft wing around the sky, the beautiful open expanse above the clouds. The second thing that you'll notice about Skyward Sword is, hopefully, the music, which is just fantastic. Loft wings have great stereos. Check out the beat. Yes, it's another epic adventure in the Legend of Zelda series, and Skyward Sword begins in the sky. Good morning, Carnage. I mean Link, and good morning, Zelda. What are we doing today? And you're taking off something. Oh, that's the sailcloth. Yes. That's an important feature in this game. Thanks for handing it over to me, because without it, your Link will be flattened. The sailcloth acts as a giant parachute. It's the game that Zelda fans have been waiting for to celebrate the 25th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda. Skyward Sword delivers an epic adventure with giant birds, fire-breathing monsters, and sword fighting with the Wii Motion Plus controller. Our adventure begins during what appears to be a pleasant date until something goes horribly wrong and Zelda plummets to the mysterious surface below. Oh no! Fortunately, our hero Carnage, or Link, just watched Point Break the night before. He leaps off his bird and chases after her, but he does have a sailcloth and lands safely on the surface, at which point he shouts, "I am a Knight of Skyloft trainee."
We make a pretty good team.
Whoa, there's a girl in my pocket. Oh, it's just you, Fee, that's right. She's like the guidance system in this game. Siri, where can I buy a pizza? I mean, Fee. Good thing a translator can't understand what she says. Come to think of it, none of the characters actually talk in this game. That's okay because the storytelling works. The big question is, will longtime fans of the Zelda series be thrilled with this game?
Hello everyone, this is your Daily Dose of Internet.
This delivery driver was upset that he didn't get a tip. I found a tattoo artist that gives people freckles. This guy was devastated because he traveled all the way to his favorite restaurant after a snowstorm just to learn that it was closed. It's illegal to park backwards in this parking space, so this YouTuber came up with a genius idea.
Nah. Is she driving by? No way! No way! We did it!
Oh my god!
This sea lion was rescued but had no desire to return to the wild. Having people run through a smokescreen probably isn't a great idea. This is what fake teeth looks like under an ultraviolet light. For some reason, this seagull doesn't have any feet.
How's that? It's got no feet.
This poor little guy doesn't know how wheels work. I was recently on a plane, and my bag of chips got really puffy from the change in air pressure. That is the end of this video. We hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.
The smartphone market in 2023 has definitely had its lows and its highs. There's the large proportion of companies who've just carried on doing their own thing, making slight, fairly unambitious improvements to what they know already works. But then at the same time, we've also had both a couple of pretty major flops and some of the biggest game changers we've seen in years. New phones or emerging companies just coming in and dropping bombshells that we never saw coming. So, with all of this in mind, who makes the best phone for you, and who's made straight up the best phone of the year? And yes, we did specifically get wooden spoon trophies made for the losers. You'll see who's written here very shortly. Okay, let's start with foldables, because this is one of those markets where I do genuinely believe we have just witnessed a game changer. I mean, Samsung has basically been the winner by default for the last 5 years, being the only company to actually make a top-tier foldable that's also globally available. And yeah, they are making good phones, but you can also definitely sense the complacency with how quickly the company's foldables went from the future of computing with their first entry to here's a 4% better camera than the last foldable. And also just how long it's taken them to fix some of the fundamental issues with foldables, like the crease. For the longest time, Samsung has needed competition, and just now, I'd say they finally got it, in the form the OnePlus Open. It has a more competitive price, better cameras, nicer construction, it's got longer battery life, and most importantly, unique software that really makes the big screen useful. It's the first ever foldable to actually compete with the Samsung, and in my opinion, genuinely just straight up come out on top. And thanks to OnePlus also being part of the same company as Oppo, they've managed to use both companies' distribution networks to do that, while also overcoming the hurdle that most foldables have failed at, making it internationally available. And that is why I'm giving it the award for Best Foldable of 2023. And if anyone from OnePlus is watching this, just ping us if you want it, because last year every single company collected theirs, except for Apple. The shakeups continue as we now go on to the best compact phone. For a few years now, I've been consistently giving this award to one company, Asus. They make this line of phones called the Zenphones, which are basically flagship specifications, but bottled up into a body that's a good 25% smaller. But this time round, while the latest Zenfone 10, it is still a good phone, it has had a price increase from 700 euros to 800 euros, and very little has been upgraded for it. It moves it to a tier where it's basically competing directly with the likes of Samsung's flagships, and I just don't feel quite like the camera tuning or the software support is close to this level. So what are your other options? Well, I've actually played around quite a lot with this base Galaxy S23. I think this phone looks good, I think it performs well, it's a really great size, and the cameras are a lot better than the specs make them seem, thanks to Samsung's tuning. So it's a very close second. But then who takes it? Well, I genuinely think the best compact phone of 2023 belongs to none other than Sony, with the Xperia 5 Mark V. The thing is really high spec, it's got cameras that, so long as you're willing to put a bit of time into learning how to properly use, have a really high ceiling. What I particularly appreciate is that its battery life is way longer than the Samsung's. Like, it will literally still be on 30% by the time the Samsung runs out. And also, the ratio. The tall, narrow ratio of this phone makes it feel way smaller than it actually is. This is comfy. What you won't get is 4 full years of software upgrades like you do with the Samsung, but what you will get is a headphone jack, plus top-shelf audio quality, a micro SD card slot, and even a physical camera button, which is pretty fun. And this leads on quite smoothly into the best battery category, because to be honest, it is so good here that you could well just call it the Xperia 5 Mark V again and leave it at that. But I'm instead going to hand it to a different Sony phone, the Xperia 10 Mark V. Simply because it keeps up one-to-one with the battery life of the 5 Mark V, but instead of being a $1,000 phone, it's a $400 phone. Now obviously other parts of the phone are scaled back because of that, like the camera's a bit weaker and the screen's a bit weaker, but it's just the fact that you can have this option for insane battery life both in the flagship configuration and also in the mid-range configuration, that is something that I want to see more of. And yes, the naming convention is incredibly poor. You should never have a situation where the 10 Mark V is lower end than the 5 Mark V. And you really shouldn't be calling phones 5 Mark V in the first place. But the products speak for themselves, so good job, Sony. This one's yours. And on the subject of less major companies who are managing to both keep up and sometimes even outdo the big players, I think it's time we talk about the most improved phone of the year. Because it's not from Apple or Samsung. The big players, as a very general rule, they're in a position where they're already making great phones that are selling in large quantities. So they're in a position where they don't really need to or particularly want to mix things up very much. But do you know who really did? Genuinely? Motorola. And I know it's kind of weird to treat Motorola like a small player, given that they're the makers of, still to this date, one of the best-selling phones of all time, but that time is not now. The companies felt like they were past their peak and kind of ready to dip out of the market at any point for years now. That's how I felt, until I saw and used the Motorola Edge 30 Ultra. It's got a 144Hz refresh rate OLED screen, it's got a 200 megapixel camera, a high-end Snapdragon chip, 125-watt turbocharging, the list goes on. But see, this is what I would also call the company's first ever Ultra phone. And that's normally red flags all around, because truth be told, it's very hard to compete with the software support and the camera tuning and the battery optimization that companies like Samsung offer at that flagship price point. But I think Motorola is well aware of this, and what makes this such an interesting option is that they've priced the Edge 30 Ultra accordingly. While with most flagship phones you'd be expected to pay $1,000 to $1,200 for this, you can quite easily find it for $700, sometimes less. And that very much brings it into the picture. So the most improved award goes to this unexpected champ. If Motorola can now just sort their camera image processing, they could kill it. All right, so now, just before we bring this together and we pick the best overall phones for budget, mid-range, and flagship, let's talk best gaming phone, best camera. So I can definitely feel the winds of change when it comes to gaming on a smartphone. It felt like the concept was massive in the early smartphone days, fueled by novelty. Then it petered out for a long time because, well, mobile game companies realized they could earn more profit making games like this instead of making games like this. But that feels like it's changing. Now that phones are reaching that critical mass of power to actually just be able to straight up play console games, it all of a sudden becomes very easy to bring actually good quality titles to phones because those games have already been made for other platforms. All of this is to say that there's a pretty strong case for gaming phones right now, and if you're in the market for one, I would say there's three top contenders. The Red Magic 8S Pro, which almost makes too much sense in a lot of ways, because you're essentially getting the most densely spec'd phone possible for an upper mid-range price. It's just missing a few quality of life features like water resistance and wireless charging, but mostly this whole invisible selfie camera thing. While it looks cool, it really does look cool, it performs absolutely terribly. And so that leaves us with Asus. Asus makes two gaming phones. They make the ROG Phone 7 and the ROG Phone 7 Ultimate. Both with top shelf performance, both with stupendous battery life, and also both with an ecosystem of accessories that genuinely makes them feel like a lot more than just a phone that can game. And you would think, well, if you're going to go that extreme, you might as well just go all in on the Ultimate. But this is one of the few cases where that's not the case. The Ultimate is over $200 more expensive than the base phone for little things, like a little vent at the back that opens to let air inside the phone, and a second OLED rear display. It's very cool, but it's just like the last thing that I'd want to be wasting my battery on. Which leads us to Gaming Phone of the Year, the Asus ROG Phone 7. But if I had to guess the single question that I get asked the most about phones these days, it's not about gaming phones or compact phones or battery phones, it's this: which phone currently has the best camera? It feels like that's become the platform on which all of these companies are competing now. Thanks, Milo. Well, the boring answer is it's subjective. I know people who are really attached to iPhone cameras. I know people who swear by Samsung cameras. I know people who are still using Huawei's because they insist that that takes photos in the way that they most like. So me saying that one of them is just outright the best for you is a bit like me saying blue is better than orange, as true as that may be. But as for what's been the best for me, it's got to be the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and there's three reasons. One is that zoom has always felt like it's been lacking on iPhones, and this, while not the best zoom you can get, it no longer makes me feel that way. The new 5x zoom camera has actually come in handy so much more than I expected it to. Whether I'm on a bullet train in Japan and I want to get a close-up of Mount Fuji, or I find a really interestingly lit alleyway and the 5x allows someone on the other side of it to get this really cinematic close-up of me in it. The second thing is that it now shoots photos in 24 megapixel as opposed to the base 12 that most phones shoot at. It doesn't make the photos twice as good, and it is a bit of a bummer that social media programs like Twitter and Insta, they compress your shots to the point where it doesn't really matter when you're just posting the raw photo you've taken. But the beauty comes with the ability to crop in, to centralize the subject, for example, after having taken the shot without feeling like you're giving up quality to do it. And then the third thing is this ability to convert any photo you've taken of a person into a portrait mode shot. Other phones can do this too, like you can do it on a Samsung, but from my experience it's not as good as it is here. And I use this so much now. Pretty much every photo I've taken of me that I'm proud of, I'll test adding in the portrait effect, and 80% of the time I keep it on. And if you're enjoying this video, then a lot of effort goes into testing every single phone on this table, so a sub to the channel would be rewarding. So when it comes to budget phones, the things that I tend to look for are actually very different to those of more expensive offerings. You know how we talk about this idea nowadays that specs don't matter, that everything's a software battle? And while that is very true at the upper end, on the lower end, specs are often the limiting factor. You need a certain level of hardware for the software to just be able to run with it. And so while with more expensive phones, I tend to weight things like user experience and level of bloatware and camera image processing, on the cheaper end, you basically just want to get as much good core hardware in place as possible. And there's one phone that I feel like has picked the best things to prioritize here: the Poco X5 Pro. Things like the chipset, the Snapdragon 778G, which is really good for both performance and battery life. Things like the screen, which honestly, for anyone but the most hardcore techies, will most likely feel flagship. Even the camera is a very respectable 108 megapixel sensor that if someone handed to me and said, use this instead of your iPhone 15 Pro or your Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra camera for a few weeks, I would have no real issue with it, because I know that with a very little bit of editing, I can get very close to the best phones out there. This is one thing that Xiaomi and their spin-off brands, Redmi and Poco, they do it right. But as you start to creep up to the mid-range category, you can be a little fussier. You can decide, well, you know what? I want my camera to have really powerful image processing, or I want my phone to have an aluminium frame instead of plastic, or wireless charging. And the fact that all phones in this category tend to have those luxuries, it makes this one tougher. I was very strongly considering the Galaxy S23 FE. Samsung's FE series in general, it seems like the company's way of shifting the extra parts inventory they have, because they're always a bit of a mishmash of parts seen in previous phones, and usually that's fine. I mean, in a lot of ways, the S23 FE is like the normal S23, but just with a much larger battery. The problem, though, in this case, is the chip. Instead of shipping the phone with something fairly current, they've decided to ship it with the Exynos 2200, which is a nearly 2-year-old chip that was still not the fastest or most efficient chip even then. And when you're charging $600, it doesn't feel like that instant recommend that some past FE phones have been. Galaxy A54 is really good too. It's a tier below, but it's arguably much better value for money because it is significantly cheaper. Or, you know what I really liked? The Nothing Phone 2. I was so close to giving the award to this phone, because it's just a cool phone with really subtle, thoughtful design choices, like the beautiful animations, the way the glyph interface allows you to tune out of your digital life for a bit, the completely even screen borders all around, all without sacrificing on the specs. The only reason I didn't pick it is because I think the winner of this category is even better value. There's Xiaomi's Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus, which is actually just crazy. I'll link the full video where we covered this down below. But this one's out of the picture for now, just because they haven't launched internationally yet. And finally, the base Google Pixel flagships usually also have a space here, but the price hike they've had this year has kind of pushed the base Pixel 8 out of what I would call mid-range territory, which leaves us with the winning phone, the Pixel 7a. Man, holding it like this reminds me how cool these crystallized trophies are, because you can actually see both the home screen and through them to the back of the phone. Now, sure, there are a couple of slight caveats, like the charging's a bit slow, but largely speaking, this phone, when you're using it day to day, it feels like it has no real weak link. It takes awesome photos, it has full access to the Google Pixel editing suite, which is world-class, good stereo speakers, up-to-date ports and connectivity, and the best part is the price. The phone launched at $500, at which point I'd probably just veer towards the Nothing Phone. But the thing with Pixels, which is usually a bad thing, but in this case kind of has a silver lining, is that the price falls very quickly. So I've seen these things now for closer to $400 with the Pixel earphones included, and closer to $350 without. And at that price, this is just so much phone for the money, and very deserving of mid-range phone of the year. And now, just before the winner, we should talk losers. So there's two phones that we're going to be handing out the Wooden Spoon Awards to. The first is the iPhone SE. This is not going to stand, is it? Do you know what? And while this phone wasn't technically launched this year, the way Apple works, it's still very much part of their current lineup. Like, it hasn't been replaced, and it's still being sold for that full-fat $429 price point that it launched at. It's got an older chipset, a weaker camera, very poor screen and battery. Do you know what? I don't think there's a person on this planet for which this, at its current price, is actually the right phone for. And then, the second award is the Google Pixel Fold. And I should be clear here, I'm glad that Google entered this space, and the Pixel Fold, it also does do some really good, useful, innovative things on the software end. But the hardware? It's just not it. Like when you pull up what Samsung's current foldables look like, or the OnePlus Open, this genuinely looks like some shelved prototype from 5 years ago that got accidentally released. Like those bezels and that crease for this price is quite disappointing. I think this phone exists more as a proof of concept, a way to show other Android makers how to make foldable software, as opposed to a consumer product that's actually competitive and viable. It just doesn't sit quite right with me that for the price of one of these, you can literally get yourself like 6.5 Poco X5 Pros. Anyways, this is what you've been waiting for. What is the best flagship phone? Phone of the year, 2023. Well, there's a lot of good ones. There's the Samsung S23 series, Xiaomi 13 series, there's the iPhone 15s, the Vivo phones, which always have awesome cameras, the Oppo Find X6, the Sony phones, the OnePlus flagships, which, while not the trailblazers they used to be, have fallen into a nice niche of affordable quality flagship. The issue we're having though, goodness, this is heavy, is that so many of the Chinese companies, they have struggled to break into the Western markets, to the point where some of them now, they're actively pulling out and actually trying to get one in a way that doesn't involve just eBaying it and potentially losing your warranty. Starting to become a bit of a chore. Like, obviously there's the whole Huawei situation, and for most people those phones are completely off the table, but also now Vivo are really hard to get. Oppo, their latest flagship, loved this phone. I think it's so stylish and the camera was awesome. They had, unlike last year's, no European launch. This is China only. And the other day I was even looking up Xiaomi. We covered their 13 Ultra earlier this year, and I love that phone. But does the UK store actually sell it? No. You can buy the 13, you can buy the 13 Pro, you can't actually buy the Ultra, because I guess they just decided it wasn't worth it for them to release it here. But then it gets even more difficult, because as a tech person, I'm fully aware that a couple of months ago, this company announced their next-gen Xiaomi 14 series of phones. But because the Western markets have been such a challenge for them, they've developed this sort of dual launch strategy, where China gets it at one point, and then the Western market gets it 4 months later. And so in the UK and many parts of the world, Xiaomi genuinely acts like this next-gen 14 does not exist. Whereas me knowing the 14 exists and having seen the potential improvements it can bring, would find it quite strange to now recommend you buy the 13. What I'm trying to get to is that in Western markets at least, it kind of feels like the number of viable options are drying up. And what you're left with if you actually want a full warranty and you want to buy a phone from a company that actually has a physical presence is Apple, Samsung, and in some places, the Google Pixel. Now, while that is sad, since I do think companies like Xiaomi and Vivo and Huawei are driving a lot of the hardware innovation right now, it's also not like we're missing all the best options, because honestly, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra is, for the most part, a masterclass. It's probably the biggest box ticker to ever exist. You want lots of cameras and lots of good cameras? Check. You want a top-of-the-line screen? Check. You want continuous software support? Check. You want to be able to customize it to your heart's content? Check. Honestly, I've only just recently delved into the Samsung Good Lock suite of apps, and the options it gives you are genuinely staggering. My only complaint is the graininess that you can get in video as you start to get into lower light. But even with that, I do think the S23 Ultra does enough right to earn itself the title of Smartphone of the Year. But it doesn't sit there on its own. There's one more phone. The iPhone 15 Pro Max also deserves to share this position. Mostly for the camera improvements we talked about earlier. I literally noticed them every single time I hit that shutter button. But also the better battery versus the 14 and the USB-C, which gives me one less cable to worry about. And before you think about switching phone, I want to show you why I recommend you switch your browser to Opera. Now, this is a sponsor, but Opera has basically said to me, we have no requirements. Just tell people what you legitimately think. So here's the crux of it. Every time I open the Opera browser, I feel like I have a co-pilot working with me. In a metaphorical sense,
Sup, my dudes, Valkyr. Today I thought it'd be interesting to go ahead and do an account showcase because I wanted to show you guys the most copium whale account you've ever seen. Well, what I mean is, if you guys don't know, I did spend money on the game. I'm going to be relaxing on that now because I'm cutting off my summon every character type beat. But, if you guys don't know, I used to try to get every character and get them all level 80. But now I'm starting to slow down because I'm skipping Huahua, and then I'm going to be skipping Argenti. And I'm kind of really waiting to see what happens with Ruan Mei. So I'm going to be waiting on that. But, yeah, you guys can see I've been very diligent in my level 80s. I've been getting every single level 80 I can. And I have every character in the game but Huahua at level 80. So I want to showcase that off today because I always talk about how copium my account is and nobody ever understands, nobody believes me, and I want to show you guys exactly what I'm cooking with today so you guys can see for yourselves. So I do have a couple characters that are actually built, and you guys are going to get to see exactly who I have that is built. And one of the first ones is Topaz. The only thing on Topaz I wish was different was the amount of attack she has. She only has 2400 attack. I don't really like being that low. But that's just more so the boots. I might swap over to attack boots if I can get good attack boots. But I am happy with her relics, all except for her rope. I'm happy with every piece except this. I would like this piece to be better. But other than that, I'm happy with every single piece she has. I think they're all really, really good pieces. And I'm kind of just chilling on her. I have her trace board maxed out, have her light cone, exact same with Kafka. My Kafka is very built up as well. I'm really happy with Kafka's build, except for her boots. I do want her boots to swap out. I do want better speed boots for this set. I think she can function perfectly well in speed boots. I don't think she needs attack boots. But I do believe Topaz can use attack boots because of the amount of advanced forward she has from Numbi. So next up is Himiko. I've been working pretty hard on Himiko since I made the video about me pulling her. This is her light cone. I have an SI2 because, you know, I'm so lucky I pull it twice. I don't think this light cone's very good, but it gives really high base stats, and I have an SI2, so I might as well use it for somebody. This is her trace board. I'm working on getting it maxed out. She is going to get 10-10-10 because she's part of my follow-up team, and then once the trace board's maxed out, we're going to get to work on the relics, and this is kind of what I'm doing until about basically Ruan Mei. I think Ruan Mei is going to be my next big character I go for. But next up is Fu Xuan, 7700 HP with Landau's Choice. Do I need to say more? Obviously not maxed out trace board because I don't max out many trace boards. But yeah. Bailu, I don't really use Bailu anymore. She doesn't really have any relics on her. Well, she does, but do these count? Traces, never maxed out. Never maxed out a trace board. Yeah. Next up is Luocha, the character I use in a bunch of teams. You guys always see me use Luocha. I have his light cone on, but not the 5-star, the 4-star one. But his traces, I've never maxed out his trace board. Now, that's right. You guys have been. This is the Luocha you guys have been seeing me use in almost every single video and every single team. Random planar sets, random planar spheres, and yeah. Yep. Next up is Trailblazer. We have no light cone equipped. We have not even touched the trace board. We have no relics. Yep. Next up is Yippard. I have his light cone, level 1. Have yet to touch him at all. I just got him level 80, so I have all the characters level 80. That's gonna be a recurring theme as we go through this. Next up is Silverwolf. Resolution Shines of Pearls of Sweat. Really good light cone. This is back before I was level 80 and stuff. Trace board 477. This is what I used to do, not max trace boards. This is basically what I used to do with all my characters. You guys can see, I would get them plus 12 relics. I would get them 477 and level 70 light cones. That was the only way I could do this and build up materials. My boy Welt. I'm actually happy with my Welt build. I'm not going to lie. It's not the craziest in terms of damage, but in terms of utility, it's really good. I have his light cone on him. For traces, I had 3777. Relics, I have him on the wind set with Sprightly Von Whack. He go fast, he slow down. Very simple. Very easy to understand why I want him like that. Next up is Bronya. I'm pretty happy with my Bronya build, mostly because Dance 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 is broken. Traces. Yeah, I didn't even know I was missing this much on her, like on her trace board. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't think I need it, to be honest with you. I don't think I need any of this at all. I think she works perfectly fine without it. This is a set I have on her. She has a 4-star relic. Wow, Poggers. I think it's because I swapped it over to Asta for something and forgot about it. Anyways, next up is Jing Yuan. Light Cone, the Birth itself, level 70, Traces, Relics. Yeah, you guys can see. Very, very, very copium. Yang Qing, I can tell you right now, I've never touched him. Yeah, I never put any time into him whatsoever. I know I said I was going to build every character, but I do want the characters I like to have good relics first. Seele, this one's going to disappoint a lot of people. I really, even though I pulled Seele at the start of the game, I really never used her. I never built her. This is about as far as I got. I never really bothered to go any further because I just never really got into using her. Next up is Gigadan. I actually really like Gigadan. I think he's dope. You guys can see I actually have a pretty decent build on him. I use the Herta's Light Cone on him. Full trace board. He's just not maxed out traces. And good, decent relics. Not good, but decent relics. You guys can see he's on the 51, 152. Crit rate, crit damage ratio. Pretty poggers. Jing Lu. This is a character I actually have really built up. But I have her on the Moles Welcome You. This might trip a lot of people up. It's just she just does really, she has tons of crit damage, as you can see. So she wants lots of attack. And this will give her a good bit of attack as she's using her abilities. I have her on 5, 8, 9, 10. I can't count. And then I have her on a pretty good set. I have her on a pretty good planner set as well as a relic set. I'm pretty happy with her. Pretty happy with how she turned out. Oh yeah, Eidolons. Forgot. There's only 2. Is there only 2? I think I have. Yeah, I have Yang Qing's Eidolon. I have Clar's Eidolon, which we'll go over in a second. I have Fu Xuan's Eidolon and Kafka's Eidolon. Other than that, I don't have any Eidolons on 5 stars. All the 4 stars are pretty much maxed out. I'll make sure to try to remember to go over the Eidolons as we go through. So next up is Bald. Now my Bald is not very good. My Bald is actually very bad. I've been trying to work on him and get him better, but you guys can see not max trace board. And yeah, this is why my Bald has never looked very good, because I have not.
Hey! What? So, some of you might already know, but just like a lot of you, I grew up with the Need for Speed series, specifically around the Underground to the Most Wanted era. Of course, I tipped my toes into the older games like Hot Pursuit and Porsche Unleashed, but the open world and customization we had on the PS2 era opened my eyes into what was really possible with video games. It wasn't just a straight path that you could walk with the same cars everyone used. You can make your own car. You could express yourself in any way you could imagine. Millions of combinations right there in your PS2. And you might be asking yourself, but Blue Tag, what does this have to do with today's video? And to that, my fellow viewer, I say nothing. Today's video isn't even about Need for Speed, it's about Flatout. Flatout is a game I never really got into. Believe it or not, I'm pretty sure the only Flatout game I played before.
Okay, that was bullshit. What are they doing, man? Oh. Hey guys, Sakura here. Check out Instant Gaming for cheap game keys. Click the link in the description below. Headshots, welcome back, day 21 of the racing marathon. With our first new game. I never played Flatout 1, so today is gonna be the day. Alright, start career. I already did the settings. I gotta say, game looks pretty good actually. It's quite old. Can someone find out the release year of the game? kind of forgot. How do you even, okay. So hitting them gives you nos. Better than Dirt 5, better than Dirt 5. Especially the handling, man. Like, this is good handling. Oh, gotta be careful what you drive over, though. Okay, this is kind of nice. Very, very good first impression. Oh man, you gotta be careful with barrels, man. The car actually rolls over. Ooh. Oh shit, wait, what's the reset button?
Hello, Kuru Happy.
I cannot believe I'm still in first after that horribly slow crash. Good games have reset button. They really do. And it's instant. Yes, no delay. Look at this, this is instant. This is the wheel actually being moved when you press the analog. What is the newest one called? It's not Fusion, it's the other one. Oh, did I just crash? Did I just wreck his car? Did I total his car? Guys, did I just total his car? He wasn't moving anymore. Do you see him fly? Whoa! Oh shit! Well, there are some decent physics in this game. Holy shit! That guy got wrecked. What is the top speed here? Holy shit! Is that top speed? What? Ow! Oh shit! I'm dead. They killed me, man, just because I won.
Bruh.
They're a lot more fun, but they often lead to death. I like death. Oh come on, really? That didn't work. I'm a little bit disappointed that one didn't work. Alright, retry. Oh shit. And his friends for World of Warcraft viewers. Holy shit. Like if I feel like I'm whoa man. Gotta say the physics are really damn good. Yeah, the physics are fantastic. Like you will have modern games that don't even have closely as good physics as this game. You're gonna have to get something like Wreckfest if you want better deformation on the cars and physics. Superman! Saved! Damn, I was about to make it. What? That physics, man. What? That makes no sense. I had no momentum, that made no sense. Or, nope. Can't fuck. Shit. Not on last lap, man. No, I'm so annoyed. Ah, fucking triggered, man. Disgusting silver metal. You can't move. Dude, why do you get spawned so far behind though when you get reset? So, as said, we're gonna do bonus. You ready for this? Long jump? I need to press it. Man, I always forget that I have to press it, dude. Wait, how did that fail? How did it fail this time? Eject at the ramp. I'll try that. Doesn't look like it's gonna work, man. Okay, I feel like I must be doing something wrong. How do I get more angle? How do I get more angle on my girl? Guys, how do I throw my girl further?
I know what men can do when they're angry.
What the hell? What are you doing, bitch? Okay, I have an idea. Like, do I already activate it here? Like this? No. I did read the tutorial, it still doesn't make sense. Oh shit. Very dead. Oh shit. I got him.
Got him.
Okay, that was bullshit. What are they doing, man? Cool. Holy fuck, why do you spawn me so far back, man? Come on, really? Holy fucking reset points. There's something about winter graphics that just makes it look better. It's kind of like when a track is wet, when it's raining it looks better. It's also true for when it snowed, the track looks better. Yeah, winter is pretty cool.
Ice is nice.
Glad you caught that one. You know why the fire is there? Because also the window is broken. So that way we only get hot air in our face. That is, yeah, that's the reason. Winter is cold, you know? Yeah, being the first game, being that good, it really speaks for the development studio. Flatout 1, Flatout 2, Wreckfest, 3 amazing games in a row. Good studio. What the hell, dude? I just jumped. Dude, once again, you land there and you die. Got bushed. I love how bushes are basically trees. Oh, that's a Flatout trophy. Man, is that when they started developing it? That's pretty cool. With the FPS counter in the top. That's actually really cool, showing a little bit developer stories. Nice. That Flatout team. I like this test level, man. Yes, I do. Shit, I forgot what I asked actually. Oops. Ah, very dead. Don't break. Can't! This race is so annoying. Okay, this looks good. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do it like this. This works way better. Thank you, Newton and physics and everything. We're gonna do it like this. It's not good enough. Man, this is way harder. This is way harder than Flatout 1. Nope, not like this. Oh, I think her arm broke and hit the other thing. Hey, home run contest. That was so good, man. Shot straight over, man. Perfect. That seems weird. She got stuck on the one. That's a kite, man. It's a kite. She used the hood as a kite, man. That woman is clever. Perfect. Again? How am I doing this? Ouch. Hey, my car is here. Does anyone want to stop me? Double and triple deckers. So hitting them in the back also means that they don't take damage? Oh wow, that flip cost me a lot. That damaged me though. And killed her, so that's good. Idiot. Fuck him. It's a figure of 8 race. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that feels very much like an event that I've seen in Wreckfest. That event has definitely been recreated in Wreckfest. Can I get him? Yes! Can I get him? Satisfaction. Satisfaction. Nice. Like, how does the game even decide which one? Why? How is that 0? Are you fucking kidding me, man? I destroyed half of the dot board and give me 0. I feel so cheated, man. Geronimo! I hit something again, so I got 0. Although I fly straight through the bullseye, still getting 0 points. Yeah, always, guys, after exercise, always stretching. Yeah. Oh, got a strike! We actually got a strike at the end. Oh, maybe the hood. You think the hood is gonna be really good here? I'm gonna slow-mo this shit. Hood, let's go. Yo, that's a good strategy. The hood actually has a hitbox. Just bowling with a woman. nothing to see here. She spreads out more when I let her slide over the ground. Maybe. Out of context, that sounds very bad, yeah. All you gotta do for success, spread your legs. See? Strike. Oh, that must have hurt. Wow, we both died. We both died and I lost. You've got to be kidding me, man. Why do I always lose when I tie with someone? Oh, that pain's real. Yeah, brother. Oh my god. Murder on the dance floor. Well, he actually hit the checkpoint. Good for him. Oh shit. You fucking dickhead. I can't even reset because I'm in motion. Man, half of them just jumped into the wall. What the hell?
Of all sad words of tongue and pen,
ooh, that was a good hit. I wasn't ready. Shit! No, I'm getting second. Alright. I had enough flat out. Where's the dirt? 5.
Right now, some of you guys are probably like, hey, I already thought you had a Blowfly Girl video. So allow me to clear up the confusion. Originally, I released my Blowfly Girl coverage in 2 parts. The first video being on Storyfire covering the original Blowfly Girl story, and the second one on YouTube covering the lore behind the blog. So I wanted to upload the Storyfire part like I've been doing with my old Storyfire videos, and I figured it would just make more sense to combine both parts into one. And if you have no idea what Blowfly Girl is, get yourself a succulent Greek meal, and sit back and enjoy. This video is sponsored by Shudder. Shudder Shudder is my favorite streaming service. It's basically the Netflix of horror. For just $5.99 a month or $56.99 a year, you can get Shudder on all your favorite devices, including your iPhones, Androids, your smart TV, and your game consoles. This month, I'm going to recommend Manhattan Baby, which Shudder recently added to the collection. I feel like it's one of Fulci's more underrated films, and in my opinion, it has one of Fabio Frizzi's best soundtracks. This month till Halloween, Shudder will be celebrating their largest lineup of new shows and titles for their Home for Halloween celebration, including must-see titles like The 101 Scariest Horror Moments of All Time, Queer for Fear, The History of Queer Horror, VHS 94, Deadstream, Dark Glasses, plus a new series from Boulet Brothers. To try Shudder free for 30 days, just go to shudder.com and use code WANG. That's SHUDDER.com. For my very first Storyfire exclusive, I decided that I would cover one of my most requested videos of all time. That being the story of Blowfly Girl. I think it's a perfect start for me on this platform because rereading the story, I'm not so sure that I can get away with it on YouTube. I've gotten away with a lot on that platform, a lot more than I ever thought that I possibly could, but this one, I'm not so sure. But Storyfire, thankfully, has given me the opportunity to take the gloves off and just do what I'm gonna do. All that being said, this video is very, very obviously not intended for anybody underage, anybody squeamish, or prone to vomiting. But anyway, without further ado, I present to you the story of Blowfly Girl. Sunday was warm and sunny, just how I always fantasized it would be when I finally went through with it. I started walking to the dumpster again, I think about 2 p.m., and I was really excited and nervous. I felt butterflies in my tummy, just anticipating what I was about to do. And this opening passage right away demonstrates something to me that I think is a very interesting aspect of the Blowfly Girl's story. It often gets passed around as a true story, yet the writing of it feels very prosaic, almost as if it were a fictional fantasy story. The dumpster is in the alley behind a restaurant near my house. It gets emptied on Tuesdays, so by Sunday, it's pretty stinky and there are flies buzzing around. Which means there are things rotting inside there, and that's just perfect for me. A few times in the past, I climbed into that dumpster and masturbated. Nothing too intense. Most I'd ever done was take off my pants and hump against the dirty garbage bags. And one time I laid there with my eggs spread watching the flies land on me. So anyway, I walked down the alley to the dumpster. And as usual, I made sure nobody was around, just to be extra careful. You have to go behind a tall wooden fence to even see the dumpster, and the restaurant is closed on Sunday anyway, so I knew I wouldn't be noticed. But this time, there's no way I want to be disturbed. I climbed up and over the side and onto my hands and knees into the mass of plastic garbage bags and other miscellaneous rubbish. The bags felt warm from the sun. The smell in there was extremely foul. Much worse than usual, and I knew it was because of my rotting meat. I sat and tried to get myself to relax for a few minutes. There was no reason to hurry. When I was ready, I calmly took off my sandals, my jeans, and my panties. Both pairs. I was wearing 2 pairs of tight panties with a bunch of my panty liners in the crotch, which keeps anything in my vagina from coming out when I move around. But I was going all the way this time, so I went ahead and got completely naked. That was a weird feeling, being totally nude inside the dumpster. It seemed very erotic to me. The sun felt warm on my skin, especially my boobs, which pretty much never see the sun. I took a pair of rubber kitchen gloves out of my pants pocket and put them on. There was no way I could bring myself to actually touch a maggot with my bare hands. Yeah, that's where you draw the line. You know, not any of the other stuff, not getting naked in a dumpster, but, you know, you don't want to touch a maggot with your bare hands. That's, ill, that's yucky. Lying with my back against the side of the dumpster, I fingered my pussy. I was really wet already. I knew I would be. The sensation of the rubber glove against my clit felt unusual, and I kind of liked it. I did that for a little while, just thinking about what I was about to do, while staring at the smaller garbage bag in the far corner of the dumpster, where I'd left it yesterday. I still felt the butterflies in my tummy. I kept thinking to myself that I can't wimp out, that I had to go through with this. I wished for a moment that someone else was there to force me to do it, but decided that it was somehow much more sick and depraved to do it to myself willingly. And I thought, yeah, that's me. That's what I want. I deserve this. And so I knew it was time to do it. I got back on my hands and knees and crawled to the other side of the dumpster. I sat down next to my garbage bag, gently picked it up, and placed it in front of me. The terrible smell was already stronger. Carefully, I tore the bag open, and there they were. There had to be thousands of maggots, kind of beige yellow, with little black spots on them, all writhing in a large mass. I couldn't even see the rotting meat underneath them. Dozens more maggots clung to the inside of the black plastic, which was coated with a thick, light brown slime. It was such a repulsive sight, I thought I was going to throw up right there, but I didn't. I took a few minutes to get control of myself, fingering my clit while staring at the maggots, trying to work up the courage to continue. I scooped up some of the slime on my gloved finger and brought it to my nose. I knew what it was from the reading I'd done before. It was digestive juices from the maggots, full of bacteria, and it smelled just horrible. I thought to myself, that's what I'm going to smell like. That's the stench that's going to come from my vagina. I want that, I thought, spreading my legs wide apart. I dragged my slimy finger between my pussy lips. My clit felt like a hard little pebble beneath the slime. I didn't want to come right then, though, and I was still right on the edge of gagging, too. But I knew there was no turning back now, so I let my fingers lightly touch the top of the maggot mass. The maggots felt like nothing I'd experienced before. They seemed to have such energy, totally different from picking up an earthworm or something, and they felt so alive. I was fascinated and nauseated at the same time. Sinking my fingers into the mass, I felt the solid meat beneath. Gently breaking it apart, I could see that the meat had turned gray, except for the very center, which was still pink, and that the maggots had penetrated into it, but not too deeply yet. There was still plenty of food for my filthy little babies. I broke off a small chunk of meat that was covered on one side with the maggots, and held it for a moment when I fought back another urge to vomit. It was finally time, I thought. I leaned forward, and holding my pussy lips apart with one hand, I gritted my teeth, and pushed the maggot-covered chunk of meat into my vagina. And then, totally without expecting it, I had an orgasm. A quick, sharp one that only made me want more. And more was coming. I broke off another small chunk of meat, along with another part of the maggot mass, and pushed it inside me. This one had more maggots on it, and I stopped for a moment to see if I could feel them inside me. I wasn't sure if I could, but it didn't matter. I wanted them all. I needed to take them all inside me. With that thought, I went sorta wild. I started pushing bigger chunks of meat and maggots, and even handfuls of just maggots into me, over and over. I was practically hyperventilating too. I wasn't thinking at all about the noise I must have been making, but now, I could definitely feel the maggots squirming inside my vagina. Just the idea of it made me come again. Finally, once I had crammed all the rotten meat and all the maggots I could inside me, I felt so filthy, so disgusting, like I'd turned myself into some low, depraved sort of beast. And that made me so incredibly hot, together with the constant movement of the maggots inside me. But it was time to go. Holding my hand over my crotch, I slowly crawled back to my clothes and managed to get dressed again without anything coming out. I put the gloves back into my pocket and climbed out of the dumpster. And right then, I could hold back the revulsion of what I'd just done no longer. Holding myself up against the side of the dumpster, I threw up. Ever vomited while you were horny? It's weird. Walking home down the alley, I felt like I was in a daze. I kept asking myself how I could have done this to myself, but then asking why I'd waited so long. I had to walk slowly to make sure nothing got squeezed out of my vagina, but also to keep from coming again. I had found myself amazed at the whole thing, that I'd stuffed the most intimate part of myself with these things that were too disgusting to even touch without gloves. And that, I was totally getting off on it. Okay, so at least she also recognized the inconsistency of not wanting to touch the maggots with your bare hands, but then you just, you shove them all up in you. Once I was home, I locked myself in my bedroom, took off my clothes except for my double panties, and got into bed. I closed my eyes and just let myself feel the maggots squirming inside me. For a while, I tried to watch TV, but I couldn't really pay attention to it. The maggots were too wonderfully distracting. I skipped dinner. Later on, when I really had to pee, I did it by taking down my panties and holding my hand over my crotch, wearing the rubber gloves, of course. The next morning, I called off of work after being awake most of the night. I mainly stayed naked on my bed all day masturbating, barely getting up for anything. I wanted to do nothing but let my nauseating little babies grow inside my pussy. Pretty early, though. I realized the smell was getting really horrible. I opened the window. I also wet a bath towel and stuffed it under my bedroom door. I didn't want my parents to get suspicious. A little later on, I realized that I didn't need the panties to hold the maggots and the meat inside me. The mass pretty much stayed in place as long as I laid kind of still. I thought, hey, I guess that means I'm infested, which made me come again. I was always right on the edge of orgasm, and it didn't take much to go over the edge. I also noticed that the maggots seemed to be more active if I kept my legs apart, and realized that they probably needed to breathe. Pet care 101. So that's how I stayed a lot of the time. I did get up and read my email and posted an update on my webpage, but I couldn't seem to think clearly enough to write much. Then I had to pee again, but I just didn't want to get up. So I just peed in the bed. It made me come. I just wanted to keep feeling the maggots moving, and they were. They seemed even stronger in anything. I was totally in heaven with it. I didn't eat at all either. I heard my parents come home from work. During the evening, my mom said hello through the door and wondered why I was staying in my room like a hermit. I said I was reading a novel all the way through at once, which I actually do sometimes. She left me alone. I hope she didn't smell anything. I surfed the web for a while that night and looked at porn. I came a few more times. I decided to go ahead and take a shit in my bed, right where I was. As one does, that just made me more turned on, and I ended up smearing some of my shit over my thighs and my pussy and coming again. I noticed that the maggots started coming out a bit. Maybe they liked the shit. A couple times, one would creep up on my belly. I just flick it back down between my legs. I was getting tired at that point. It really was time to sleep, and my vagina was throbbing and kind of sore from all of the attention. But I was most worried about making sure my maggots could breathe while I was sleeping. Somehow, I managed to find the energy to place a chair on either side of my bed and use sheets to tie my ankles to them. That would keep my legs apart during the night. I pulled the blankets over myself and dozed off lying in my piss and shit. For the most part, I slept through the night, but I kept waking up sweating with my vagina throbbing worse. I knew I was getting a bad infection from this, but I didn't care. I was not thinking right. I could also feel maggots crawling all over me. I guess I decided I liked that, and I'd play with my clit until I came again. I don't know if I realized at the time that I wasn't wearing the rubber gloves anymore. I'd fall back to sleep and wake up again later with little phrases running through my head. Other girls have babies, but I give birth to decay and filth, I'd keep thinking to myself. Or, I'd say I'm probably ruining my womb and I don't care. I want to be ruined. I know I must have been hallucinating from the infection. I was hoping the maggots had given up on the rotten meat and were eating my vagina instead. My fingers were buried inside my vagina, with my fingertips against part of the meat. Whenever I pressed on it, the maggots would squirm faster and I'd climax again. I could do it over and over and keep coming. Finally, it was Tuesday morning and sunlight made me wake up. I knew I was really, really sick at that point. I felt weak and dizzy. I knew I had a fever, and now my whole lower belly was sore and throbbing. Despite all that, I was still horny and I was right on the edge of coming. And then for some reason, all I wanted to do was see my maggots. I pulled the blankets aside and saw that I really did have maggots crawling all over my body. I was so whacked out, I loved it. But I also saw that I had a rash spreading over my tummy and my thighs, and I was soaked with sweat. And then suddenly, I needed to see what it looked like between my legs. I sat up a little, picked up the hand mirror I have on the table next to my bed, and held it between my thighs. My pussy was totally gaped wide open. I'd never seen it like that before. It reminded me of a mouth in a sick, gagging expression. My inner lips were swollen and dark purple, almost black, while my outer lips were cherry red and I was losing a layer of dead skin, like a sunburn. A stream of the light brown slime was oozing from inside my vagina and down my butt crack onto the shitty mattress. Although I could still feel a large mass of maggots and rotten meat inside me, there were maggots everywhere between my legs, hundreds of them. And then I saw my fingers on my pussy. They plunged deep into my vagina and dragged out a wad of slime and maggots, which I pressed hard against my clit. I remember having a huge orgasm right then, and I must have passed out. I think I was sobbing too, but I'm not sure. That's all I remember until I woke up in the hospital. And thus concludes the story of Blowfly Girl. And now back to the question that always comes up with this story. Is it real or is it bullshit? Although the detailed, flowery, prosaic nature of the writing and the story arc that follows what seems like something taken literally out of a hentai manga leads me to believe that this is probably fiction, there actually is more to this story. You see, Blowfly Girl maintained a blog for several years, tracing all the way back to GeoCities. So stick around for my next video that takes a look at the person behind this story. I've gotten away with a lot on this channel that I never would have expected to. The jar, the scissors, the bacon, the box. But there's one story that I've been asked to cover several times throughout the years, and whenever I go back and read it, I think to myself, I'm not so sure YouTube's gonna let me get away with it this time. Maybe I don't want to push my luck. Of course, since you've read the title of this video, you know that what I'm talking about is Blowfly Girl. And I don't really know what would happen. Maybe they'd let me get away with it, maybe they'd give me a strike, maybe they'd monetize it like they monetized the Cumbox video, who knows? It's like a game of chicken that I play every time I upload one of these kinds of videos, so here's what I'm gonna do this time. I've uploaded my take on the Blowfly Girl story itself onto Storyfire, a new platform by McJuggernuggets that is going to let me get away with these kinds of things without having to worry about it. I'll put the link to that video in a pinned comment down below. But that being said, there's a lot more to Blowfly Girl than just the infamous story itself, and that's what I want to explore in this video. The history of Blowfly Girl, and inside the mind of the author herself. Blowfly Girl is probably the most infamous copypasta of all copypastas. And although, as I said, I'm not going to be reading the story itself on YouTube, I will give you a summary of it. Blowfly Girl tells the story of a woman with a fetish for filth and maggots. One day, she repeats her ritual of secretly pleasuring herself inside of a dumpster. When she develops a severe infection and wakes up in a hospital. Sounds like fiction, right? This wild, prosaic story that sounds like something ripped from the pages of a Guro manga. Yet, during my research, I found out that such things do occur, and in fact, there exists a video depicting this very thing, which I'm not going to show you for very obvious reasons. So what's the deal with this story? Where did it come from? A lot of people think that this story simply appeared one day on 4chan. In fact, some sources point to a specific thread on B in May of 2007. And although this thread on B definitely contributed to the popularization of the story, it had been floating around the internet for some time. The first thing we need to look at is its name, Blowfly Girl. The thing is, although this story is often called Blowfly Girl, that's not actually the name of the story. Rather, Blowfly Girl is the name of the author, and the story itself is something she merely refers to as her maggot story. And this maggot story created by Blowfly Girl can be traced back much further, all the way to GeoCities. Unfortunately, Blowfly Girl's GeoCities page was terminated in 2005, presumably due to its content. And if you try to look at her original account on the Internet Archive, it's behind an adult content warning, meaning that you had to log in to get to it, which means that the Internet Archive wasn't able to save it. So the very first incarnation of Blowfly Girl does not appear to have been preserved in any way, but if you have it, I'd love to see it. After the termination of her account, Blowfly Girl would return in the new year on January 1st, 2006, this time with a new Yahoo account. Yahoo ID, Blowfly Girl 2. Real name, Deborah. Nickname, Blowfly Girl. Location, Northeastern Illinois. Age, 27. Marital status, single. Sex, female. Hobbies, slowly destroying myself, using my own sick perversions as a weapon, descending into the depraved little hell I've created for myself. It all makes me come. Latest news. I can hardly wait for it to get warmer here so the flies will come back and deposit their repulsive little spawn for me, so I could feel them moving and growing inside me again. I want the maggots to make love to me and ruin me. Favorite quote: I'd like it if you'd look at my profile before you IM me. She also made single blog posts. Entry for January 1st, 2006. It's a new year, and I guess that means it's time to start new things, like this blog. Yahoo deleted my old GeoCities page a few months ago. Lost all of my contacts. Hopefully, this will last longer. This first blog post had 5 comments indicating that the story had already been spreading around the internet at some point, and in particular, a man named Richard had been telling people about it. This new blog, however, would quickly fall to the wayside as Blowfly Girl would make a different blog, this time on a site called Multiply. Blowfly Girl would post on Multiply throughout the next few years, but unfortunately, in 2009, this blog too was deleted. And unfortunately, like her original GeoCities page, this too was not archived. After her Multiply account was deleted, Blowfly Girl wouldn't be heard from for another few months until she created the Blogspot account, which is active until this very day. Saturday, August 22nd, 2009. Here I am. It's been a really long time since I posted anything. I lost my job several months ago, and about the same time, Multiply killed my profile there. That's where had I moved all my pics and blog entries to, so it's all gone. The only other place my pics were saved was on a PC at work. So anyway, I was really unhappy and just didn't feel like communicating publicly anymore. Maybe I'm ready to start again now. There was a story I wrote about my first sexual adventure with maggots. I thought I'd lost that too until I discovered that it's been reposted all over the web. It seems to be famous. I'll put that up here if this turns out to be a good place. I wrote about my second time too, but it looks like nobody reposted that. It must be really gone. It had to do with a dead deer I found close to I-94 in Wisconsin about this time last summer. If anyone has seen it around, please let me know. I've realized that if too much time passes, I don't write very well. I couldn't possibly rewrite it. I'm going to be 29 next month. I haven't had a boyfriend or even been with a man since I was 18. My parents don't want to deal with me because I still refuse to go back to counseling. I'm working at Target now, and I barely have enough money to keep my apartment and keep my car running. I do make a little extra money doing alterations on dresses, but it's not much. I don't have any future plans for myself. I don't have any marketable skills, I'm totally out of shape, and I've gained some weight. I'm up to a size 14 now. And as hard as I've tried to change, I still feel like I'm a sick, perverse, filthy pig inside. I've tried to ignore the desires and disgusting ideas that come into my head. Dangerous things for me to do, forcing myself to get off. I always hope I'll change. I've been forcing myself to try, but the ideas never stop coming. So where does that leave me now? I continue to struggle against my talent for failure. Pretending to be a normal woman while living in fear of backsliding and doing something really bad to myself. I picture myself, in metaphor, walking and falling into an open manhole, hanging onto the edge with my fingertips and struggling to pull myself out. I keep falling in, over and over, and for a long time I've been able to get out each time, but I just don't have the energy to struggle anymore. I want to let myself fall into the sewer now, and let myself sink into everything that is dark, dangerous, filthy, and perverse. Years of writing, photos, and memories wiped out in an instant. Every single thing she had ever done online would be gone were not for the fact that her one maggot story became insanely internet famous. And this first post gives an interesting insight into Blowfly Girl's mentality. On one hand, she is miserable about how her paraphilia has negatively affected her life, but at the same time, she's very proud of the writing she's produced because of it. And shortly after she made this first post, she would go on to repost the famous maggot story on her own blog, this time receiving comments of various flavors. Jesse, thank you for showing me something new about myself. I actually found myself aroused by your story. We all have perverse parts of ourselves, and one day, we will all find someone who accepts those parts we don't like to talk about. Anonymous. The people who will accept these things about you are the people who have sick, twisted minds like you and this Blowfly Girl. You need help. Seriously. Her last post of the year would discuss being depressed during the holidays. Depression. I have a really difficult time at the holidays. For some reason, my depression gets worse this time of year. It happens to a lot of people, I guess. My problem when I feel depressed is that I don't ever get out of bed unless I have to go to work. When I spend too much time sleeping, I start having really vivid dreams. Not all nice dreams either. Her post would go on to detail the dreams, mostly involving maggots and this kind of discrepancy between her excitement over the maggots but also her fear of people finding out about them. And that December was the last she was heard from until July 4th of 2010, when she would attempt to rewrite her deer story. Dead Deer, second maggot story. A few of my old contacts have emailed me asking if I would post the story of my second encounter with maggots. It's been about 2 years since it happened, and I had written about it the next day on my Multiply page. Unfortunately, Multiply deleted the page. I lost the story and everything. I hadn't kept a copy because I did everything from a computer at work. It's all gone. A lot of detail fades over time, but I tried my best to rewrite the experience. Once I got started, some of it came back to me, and I ended up really enjoying it. I'm glad I took the time. Hopefully, I haven't misremembered anything important. It happened on a Sunday afternoon while I was driving back home from Milwaukee. I can't remember now whether it was the weekend of Summerfest or Labor Day, but it was one of the two. As I mentioned, the following Monday night I wrote the whole thing out at work and uploaded it to my Multiply page. I even got brave and took some pictures before my hands got too dirty. I uploaded a couple of those to the page too, only the ones that I felt safe showing. Not a lot of me in them, not a lot of my flabby, disgusting, pale body in them, actually. I really wish I had even those few back. Multiply didn't respond to my email when I asked. And the revelation that pictures existed shines a bit of a different light on this story. You see, one of the biggest debates around Blowfly Girl is whether this was an actual thing that happened or whether or not it was just someone's attempt at writing fiction. If actual pictures were to exist of her experiences, it would definitely lead a lot of credence to the fact that this is in fact a true story. But of course, the Multiply blog, which those pictures allegedly resided on, is now gone and has never been archived. And even if the pictures did exist, it's not necessarily proof that the events described happened, just that at some point, she was in close proximity to a maggot-ridden deer corpse. After this, her next post would be detailing her feelings about turning 30. I'll be turning 30 this month. I guess that's supposed to be a milestone, but I'm pretty sure nobody's planning a surprise party for me or anything. I can't think of anybody in my life who'd want to do that. It's my own fault for being such a loner. I don't mind turning 30. When I was younger, I had expectations about what my life would be like at 30. I was way off the mark. I thought that I'd be working professionally as a costume designer for theater and movies, living in a trendy loft condo somewhere in Lincoln Park or something, surrounded by smart, sophisticated friends. Well, none of that has materialized yet. Considering my history of not being able to hold a job for very long, I guess I should feel lucky that I'm employed at all right now. Especially with the bad economy and everything. I have my own apartment and I have a car to drive, though I am still heavily subsidized by my parents, as my dad says. They don't mind. I'm sure they're very relieved that I've been emotionally stable. I guess I should set a goal to actually do something useful for myself this year. Do something besides slowly destroying myself through my perversion for filth. I mean, so far, what have I done? I nearly killed myself 6 years ago having sex with blowfly maggots. Wrote about it on my old GeoCities page, and the story became mildly infamous as one of the most disgusting stories on the internet. My gynecologist says that she can tell I'm unable to get pregnant anymore. At least I'm well on my way to destroying myself. It's an achievement. Seriously though, I have to mention that I've read comments on my blog and gotten emails from people wishing me well and hoping I will seek help. If you're one of them, thank you for being concerned. Really, sincerely. You sound like nice, compassionate people, but I'm okay. While I was growing up, my parents made me go to counseling, see psychiatrists, take antidepressants, all sorts of stuff. I'm happier without any help. And I'm only a danger to myself a very small percentage of the time. There's a lot more to my life that I don't discuss on my blog that if you knew about, you'd see I'm pretty normal. And at this point, a lot of her blog starts to focus on her work situation. In particular, she's very unhappy with her low-paying Target job, but at the same time, she's very dependent on the health insurance. especially with her frequent health issues such as the pinworm infection she developed after an interaction with a fan. The fan wrote to her about how much they appreciated her work and sent her a story called Julie's Slide into Depravity. And the thing is, Blowfly Girl had already read this story. In fact, although she commented that there were things about it that she intensely disliked, like the violence for instance, she actually credited it with helping her discover her interest in maggots. This interaction caused her to read the story one more time, and this time she became interested in one of the characters' interactions with Dogshit. She went out and recreated this interaction with Dogshit, and it led to her developing an unseemly pinworm infection. And it just so happened that at the time, Blowfly Girl became sick once again and was dependent on her Target health insurance that she got an offer to go back to her old job. This job, which was at a law office, was much better paying than Target, but at the same time, they didn't give health insurance, so she found herself kind of stuck in a situation because of her health problems. Ultimately though, a few months would pass and she returned to tell her fans that she did in fact accept the job offer. New job. I'm back working in the law office now. I quit Target. That's the first time I ever left a job without being fired. How depressing is that? The attorney that I'm working for, the one who asked me to come back, is actually a friend of my dad's, going back to when I was little. I'm suspicious that he was doing my dad a favor by asking me to come back. It would explain why he's also agreed to put me on the health insurance plan the rest of the office staff is on. Yeah. Anyway, this is the best job I've ever had and I'm grateful to have a second chance at it. I don't mean to disappoint, but I've been kind of a clean girl lately. Probably just haven't been depressed enough since I started the new job. I cleaned up the apartment a little bit, enough to realize I had an ant problem last summer but didn't notice. I separated out the empty pizza boxes from the stacks of magazines too. I even put makeup on for the first time in ages. No reason, just felt good to do it. Anyway, anybody who's reading this has probably already done it, but I googled Blowfly Girl recently. I had no idea how much attention the stuff I've written has gotten. Looks like the consensus is that I must be sick in the head. Well duh. What's funny are blog comments and forums where people shock each other by posting links to my stories. She also, for the first time, confronts the ramifications of her having created this story. I'm not going to betray any confidences, but I think it's worth mentioning that I've been exchanging emails with someone who has had an experience with maggots similar to mine. She got the idea from reading about what I did. I'm pretty sure she's sincere. She knows way too much about what maggots do when you mess around with them, and how they feel in your body. Either that, or she studies insects for a living and she's just playing with me. I'm not sure how I feel about having inspired someone to do that to themselves. Her posts will become a bit more sparse throughout 2011, in part due to the fact that she got hacked and she deleted all the racist comment that the hacker posted. However, she would drop by to inform people that she did actually manage to hold down her law office job. And Blowfly Girl would return in May of 2012, which as of now is the last long-form Blowfly Girl story. Finally, some fun. It was just getting light out Monday morning when I started driving home from work. It was overcast and gray and wet and my mind was mostly on getting some sleep. But as I drove, I also began thinking about how bored I was. I really have been bored. On the spur of the moment, I decided to go have some fun. No idea what, but it's been way too long since I've had any. I had all day. I got on the Eisenhower and started heading west. Traffic was already slow and I wondered if I'd made a mistake, but soon I was on I-88, which was clear. Randomly, I exited at Route 59 by Aurora, kept driving, and started looking around for something interesting. All of a sudden, I was at Fox Valley Mall. I hadn't been there in many years. There's a road that rings the parking lots outside the mall. I drove slowly along the road, circling the mall a couple times, hoping something would catch my eye and wondering what kind of fun I could make for myself outside a mall that isn't open yet. There's a Greek restaurant on the west side of the mall. It has its own building and its own parking lot. The lot was empty. I drove around the back of the restaurant and saw a wooden enclosure where they keep their dumpster. But it was a pretty big enclosure for just the dumpster. I stopped and got out of the car to take a look. Could be interesting. And as she explored the Greek restaurant dumpster, she went on to reenact much of what happened in the original Maggot story, filling herself up with octopus tentacles, chicken bones, shrimp tails, and driving all the way home without removing the contents. And she described how not depriving herself of that kind of excitement made her feel alive once again. I wasted a lot of time denying myself. It's been way more than a year since I did anything like this. I kept thinking that it was my depression that made me want to do things to myself, and that if I succumbed to the desire, I'd end up backsliding again, losing my job and everything I've worked so hard for. I was, and I am really scared of that ever happening. But maybe I don't have to be dead inside all the time. I went to work last night and everything's fine. Maybe I'm a depraved, filthy pig who can also hold a job. She would post very sporadically over the course of the next few years, speaking very frankly about dealing with her depression and thanking her readers for their support. She would also speak in detail about software upgrades at her job and considering going back to school to become a paralegal. She also made a post documenting her difficulty with being intimate with people, and in particular a date with a man named Eli. She regretted not inviting him inside after he dropped her off, but she was hopeful to see him again. And after a bit of a break, she would return in 2016 to reflect on the blog as a whole. It's April 24th, 2016. I posted something. I started my Blowfly Girl blog here mostly because of the feedback I got when I shared that first experience I had with maggots. I posted that first story first on my GeoCities page, yes, that long ago. So many people had things to say to me, whether curious, concerned, disgusted,